Hello, and welcome again to Talking Baseball with Leon Lee. Today is February 23rd, Sunday, and we're here in El Dorado Hills, California with Leon, and special guest today, Ryan Stafford. And Leon, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. It's been a while since we've been on air, but I'm really glad to be back with you and with our special guest, Ryan Stafford, who's not only a close friend, but he's a young high school baseball player, Folsom High School, which I consider probably has a chance to really go to the highest level playing a catcher of all things. A catcher who I not only do I love him as a person, as a personality, but also I think he's going to go a long way in this game of baseball. Glad to have you here, Ryan.
Glad to be here.
Anyway, we want to talk about, me and Steve always talk about the state of the game. We've had a lot of podcasts where we talk about us old timers, we talk about how the state of the game and how in amateur ball now, that's what we really wanted to have you on air with us, because get a first-hand view of a young catcher who's a junior in high school, and kind of the game has kind of gotten into the area of analytics and sabermetrics and coaches calling signs, and we call it kind of robotic baseball. They say new baseball, and they call us old school. Mm-hmm. But I want to get some feedback from you in the day's game. You have the ability to call your own games. Yes. I think that's a wonderful thing. Now, how do you feel about that?
I like the freedom that it gives me. It's helped me a lot to learn the game of baseball, to call my own pitches. It's just done tons for me, and it's a lot of fun behind the dish to be able to have that kind of control on the game.
And also when you're calling your own game, it makes you see things. I mean, you see hitters' habits, where their feet are going, what's working better for the pitcher. Yeah. I mean, to me, that just makes the game more interesting. Mm-hmm. When a player has a little more control of what they're doing, it gives the pitcher a little more confidence too, don't you think?
Yeah, I've gained a lot of trust from my pitchers, and to have that kind of confidence in that they have in me to call their pitches, and I got a first-hand view of everything that's going on, so I think I could have the best viewpoint and the best decisions on what to call and what the situation calls for.
And how long have you been calling your own pitches there? Right?
For a few years. My dad started letting me do it in 13. He's been my coach for a while, so just continued to get better at it, and now I'm developing into. It's just helped a lot.
Yeah, well, I consider you a pro prospect. I think that being a scout myself in the past, and I learning how to evaluate players, and we hit a lot. I mean, I don't know how many hours we've spent in the cages, right?
A lot.
Since you were, 8 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And we're hitting again today and doing a podcast where it says, let's talk to Ryan Stafford. He represents high school baseball. I'm kind of a pessimist when it comes to, I'm old school because I see so many coaches calling pitches and controlling the game, and I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm not going to get you in trouble because I don't want you to say anything controversial. I want you to enjoy the high school baseball, your talent, but it's imperative to me. I think you're way ahead of the game, because being a catcher who can actually play other positions, but a catcher who learns how to call their own game, it gives you an upper hand right from the start.
Yeah, just always being a student of the game and learning the hitters and what to call. It's just helped me in all aspects of the game, really, especially when you're hitting as well, because then you can learn what pitches are going to try to do and how that's going to turn out for you, so you can start predicting what pitches are coming, and gives you an upper edge.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you how that has helped you on the offensive side.
Tons, yeah.
Yeah, so it obviously helps you maybe figure out pitchers' patterns and even maybe what the conditions are that day and anything like that.
And I think even more than that, I think it makes you learn how to feel the game, to see the game. It makes it more exciting. You trust your instincts more, and also it helps you make more critical decisions a lot faster than the average young player would. And instead of saying, okay, I'm going to look for the coach to tell me what to do, by then it's too late.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get to the collegiate level or the professional level, and talking to guys like Ricky Henderson and the major league guys, they go by feel. they go by see. If he's running, if he gets a base hit and the outfielder bobbles the ball, he doesn't wait for a base coach to tell him to go to second.
No.
You know, he's gone. And that's where we say at the higher level, the game speeds up. You have to be able to do that. So I'm looking for players like yourself that can make those critical decisions, especially behind the plate. You know, it speeds the game up. You know, Major League Baseball's talking about, we got to play faster games. We're stop calling pitches. You know, the catcher has to look in the dugout, look at the pitcher, put a sign down, you know, and collectively it takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
but you, as a catcher, can learn how to control the tempo of the game.
And that affects your pitchers as well if they want to work on a fast tempo, but you have to take time to look over at the coach and figure out what to call.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Right.
it really gets in your pitcher's head sometimes when they just want to move.
Yeah, it disrupts the rhythm of the whole game.
Exactly.
So, Leon, I was going to ask you being an ex-pro scout as well, if someone were to come up and see Ryan these days, if a scout were to walk up and see Ryan calling his own game, what impact does that have on you as a scout?
Right away, if I relay that information to a scout, their eyes light up because they don't see it much anymore. Wow, we ran into a person not only is an athlete, you know, because nowadays we're trying to stay away from the big, heavy-set, prototypical catcher. You know, we're looking for athletes. You know, Ryan's an athlete. He can play outfield, he can play infield, but he's a catcher. He can move. He's got foot quickness, and he can do a lot of different things. But the main thing is he's not a robot. Is that he can actually see the game and feel the game. That gives him an upper hand. So if I were to relay this information to organizations right away, that gives Ryan an upper hand only because he knows he becomes a student of the game, you know, not a listener of the game. He sees the game, he doesn't hear the game. Makes a big difference.
Yeah, you can go off a reaction instead of
in a heartbeat. And I would trust a catcher behind the plate that knows how to receive balls, knows how to block balls, but the key thing, knows how to make good decisions. And also, I always say the catcher is the general on the ball field, where outfielders, infielders need to be moved a little bit. I like to see catchers take control of that. In the old day, the Johnny Benches, you know, the guys, Steve Yeagers, these guys took control of the game. The game, all the outfielders would respond to the actions of the catcher and the pitcher, the tempo. The pitcher that controls the tempo of a ball game wins the ball game, and the catcher has control of that.
And Ryan, have you had the opportunity to have an impact on defensive positioning as well, or is that something that you're not able to do quite yet?
I do have the ability to do so, but usually I trust my defense, and they usually know what to react to. And I know my second baseman, I'll be putting down signs, and he'll actually look at what I'm putting down and adjust accordingly. And he knows that if off-speed's coming, he might creep a little bit towards pull side.
Yep.
As opposed to,
Yeah, that's great. That brings me back to the stories that I even heard about the Ripken brothers telling when they're playing second and short and seeing what signs the catchers are putting down and adjusting accordingly.
Yeah, that has a huge impact because that's an extra inch, an extra step that makes a difference between getting a ball and not getting to it. So
Yeah, and I think that makes it more fun for the middle infielders as well.
Yeah.
Always.
And that's a huge point, because even for a high school player to make that statement, the higher level you go, those little things make a difference. A ball that you would get to could really change the whole impact of a ball game. And we have to look at in baseball, you look at little, you know, we always say it's a game of inches. Sometimes that information or that one step would make a difference in winning or losing a one-run ball game.
Oh, of course. So, what else has the impact of being able to call your own game for a catcher, other than what we've talked about so far? Do you guys think?
Well, you know, for me, and I'm going to relay that over to it's imperative because we have these conversations. I've been in pro baseball for over 40 years, but these last 8 or 9 years, I've done a lot of work with amateur players, high school kids especially, and it's easy to evaluate talent, but it's not easy to evaluate knowledge of the game. And I always say this is and you can relate to this, Ryan. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called The Outliers. And there's talk about people that have really excelled in their different fields. For example, the Beatles, the old Beatles, they practiced over 10,000 hours before they got good. You know, in effect, the subject is, and if you really want to be good at something, you have to practice 10,000 hours to be good at it. The problem we're seeing in in high school baseball, little league, and high school baseball, is the coaches are completely controlling the game. So if you're looking at a Ryan Stafford and say, Ryan, you're going to be really good after you practice 10,000 hours. Well, he's going out on the field for 4 hours a day, say 5 days a week. That's what, 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week. But the coaches are controlling everything, so they're taking Ryan's hours away from him. So Ryan actually thinks for himself or does what he thinks, maybe at home or different things. So he's really getting Ryan time, maybe 4 hours a week. So how long would that take to get to 10,000 hours?
Right, and are you even going to get that if you get to the college level?
Exactly, and that's the thing, that what we fight for is to give the game back to the kids. So if they're on the field 4 or 5 hours a day, and they're at home working on their own for 2 or 3 hours, your 10,000 hours add up really quick. And the advantage I think Ryan has here, and me as a person, and why I can evaluate Ryan going to the higher level, is because he's way ahead of the majority of the kids that are playing high school ball, because he's taken advantage of his 10,000 hours.
Right.
And now I can project Ryan in 5 years from now, when he's 22, 23 years old, being a big league player. But I've seen some high school players that have some ability, but put them in pro ball all of a sudden, and they have to make their own decisions, and they fall back 2 or 3 years because they haven't accumulated those hours.
They have to catch up.
Exactly. They have to. Those hours of work has to be your work, your individual work, not a coach's work. Coaches are great, don't get me wrong. I don't want to put coaches down. I'm a coach. But you have to allow the player to have his own thoughts. You have to allow the player to fail on their own. They have to allow you as a catcher to call the wrong pitch, which I hate that word wrong. It just didn't work that pitch. You call a breaking ball, it got up in the zone, the guy hits it out of the ballpark. Doesn't make it a wrong call. You see, it's just sometimes you're trusting your instincts to do it.
Now, Ryan, you said you have accepted to where? What?
Cal Poly.
Cal Poly. Now, maybe this is just a dumb Steve question here. Obviously, I haven't talked to too many players that are on their way to college to play pro ball, but have you been able to talk to them about being able to call your own game at that level as well? Or has that been too soon?
I have not. Actually, that's one thing I wanted to bring up a while, but I think watching their catchers, I do believe they go to their dugout for signs, which, moving on, I don't know. I had to have that conversation with them, but...
Yeah.
Well, what I'll do is I'll go down to Cal Poly and say, hey, coach, Ryan Stafford's coming in. He's going to call his own game. All right, is that okay with you? Good job, that boy. I'm not going to do that, obviously.
Well, then
he might be listening to this podcast right now.
Yeah. Well, then, like you said, Leon, is the break point normally once you leave college and get in the pro ball, that's in today's game or today's time frame, that is the first experience that a catcher might have at calling his own game is right when they enter rookie ball?
Yes. When I was with the Cubs a number of years back, we had a junior college catcher who came in, and we were laughing about it because we just started playing our first exhibition games against other organizations, and we were laughing and says, watch, here's a JC kid, first year in pro ball. He's going behind the plate. We haven't given any signs whatsoever. There's no signs that even been given to the catcher to give to the pitcher. Mm-hmm. There have been no meetings. The catcher's job is to go out and call the game and learn. He hasn't seen these pitchers before, but that's how you're going to learn them. And sure enough, as soon as the very first inning, our catcher gets behind the plate and his head turns and he looks in the dugout, just from habit. So we're going like, what are you, it's like our coaches are, what are you looking at? What are you looking for? And now the catcher's going like, whoa, wait a minute. You mean I got to call my own game? So now, starting from scratch in pro ball, you're miles behind. So therefore, I think it's really important that at some stage, high school kids, young kids get a chance to catch in game situations and learn how to call their own games, learn how to understand what the situation is, what's working for the pitcher, what the hitter's habits are, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ryan, when you call your own game during the game, do you come back in between innings or even before the game, talk to the coaches about a game plan or what's working and what's not?
Mostly I talk to my pitcher or my middle infielders. A lot of times they'll have some input on what I'm calling or what to call. And yeah, just being on board with your pitcher especially, that's what helps the most, is knowing what he wants to throw, what's working for him that certain day, and just being able to work with him well, and that helps tons for both of us.
That's even a better answer for me, because that's the autonomy of the players themselves working through the successes and failures.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah,
it should be across the board. It
right.
really should be. And it's refreshing because when you have these summer leagues and summer programs where kids are playing extra games and getting extra experience, they get way closer to playing pro ball or to pro baseball mentality if they're allowed to do that on a regular basis, what he just said.
Right.
He couldn't say it any better.
Right. So not only is Ryan advanced, but all of his pitchers and middle infielders are too.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all know the game really well, and that helps. It just multiplies for us to know the game that well. It just helps a ton.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you, as a hitter, from a hitter standpoint, if a catcher and a pitcher's working in sync together, a hitter feels it. If that pitcher's throwing pitches where he's supposed to throw them, like Hank Aaron used to tell me, if a pitcher makes the pitch he's supposed to pitch, you tilt your hat and go sit down.
Mm-hmm.
What we live on is a pitcher mistake. A pitcher will make more mistake if a catcher and a pitcher's not working well together, and a pitcher's not committed. If a pitcher doesn't trust his catcher or the pitch that he called, and he doesn't shake it because he's not allowed to shake it, he's going to make a mistake on that pitch. So a curveball is a great pitch in that particular situation, but if you hang it, or if you keep that pitch up in the zone because the pitcher didn't commit to it, he gets beat. That one pitch may cost him the game, you see. Mm-hmm. But if he's totally committed and he makes the pitch he's supposed to make and either gets me out, or even if it's a non-call or a non-action pitch, he escapes the situation because he didn't throw that pitch that he wasn't committed to. And that's, to me, the real importance of having a catcher having control of his pitcher, and the pitcher trusting he can't. It's hard for a pitcher to trust a coach when he's not out there between the lines. He just called a pitch and the catcher goes along with it, and they go, man, he called a curveball and I got this guy set up for an inside fastball. I can beat him on the inside fastball, but I got to throw this curveball. Doggone it, I hung it.
Yeah, I always wondered how as a pitcher could I be committed if someone else was telling me what to do.
Exactly. And it's not fun, right?
No. And I always let my pitcher be the one to decide if he wants to throw a certain pitch. I'd like him to throw his pitch, so we have that relationship where he can shake me if he feels like that's the right thing to do in the situation.
He can, and that's how you learn from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. It's clear that Ryan is very far ahead of a lot of players at his age. And his
that's like, it's like, hey, Ryan, hey, come on, you get up every morning, you get your toast, you get your butter knife and get the butter, and you know how to butter your toast. And then all of a sudden, I'm as a coach going, hey, Ryan, man, come on, you can't butter your toast like that. Well, now you don't even want to eat your toast.
Nope.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's like, come on, I enjoy my toast the way I butter it. You're telling me I got to turn my wrist a certain way to butter my toast. Same way behind the plate. You're telling me I have to call this pitch when I don't feel it. I know what this hitter's doing. I see his front toe opening up. Mm-hmm.
Ryan, do you have you heard comments or do you get reactions from opposing players or opposing teams to the way your team is managing the game?
No, I don't really pay attention too much to what's going on the other side. I'm just focused on my game, I guess. But
yeah.
I mean, it does make a difference. You can tell when you get guys out on a certain pitch. It's getting to them for sure.
Yeah, it still has an impact.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but it's a really good topic because one of the reasons we do this, we cover a lot of areas in the podcast in baseball because there's no real right and wrongs, and we always say there's just consequences. This is probably one of the most talked about games, but right now my feeling is that the game is not in a real good place, and it's not at the higher level because of all the technology and the analytics. They're hiring people that that are suit and ties and Harvard graduates because of analytics. They're numbers people. And to me, historically, and I'll say this, historically, the game was meant to be played, not analyzed or, you can analyze anything. Steve can go out there and hit a double and still third, and the analytics can say, oh, yeah, he did this after. But that's after the fact. I particularly don't care about after the fact. I care about what the action as is happening. But we're letting analytics get in the way of the natural, instinctive, reactive, visual part of the game. Mm-hmm. Even as a coach, if I'm coaching Brian Stafford, and from a standpoint of hitting, I can't. Everything is not mechanical. You may have visual issues. You may not be seeing the ball because your head might be doing certain things, or you may just need glasses.
Yeah.
But there's not a mechanical answer to everything. Yeah. You see, we have to be able to see and feel what's going on in front of us instead of putting a tag on it. Mm-hmm. And so, from a high school standpoint, and sitting here talking with you, I like to see you are the future of this game. And I like to see Ryan Stafford say, I'm going to be a major league catcher who earned the right to be a major league catcher, who understands that I learned how to be my own best coach. You agree?
Mm-hmm. That comes with freedom. Yeah. Freedom
of play. It's a game. It's a choice, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to play. Mm-hmm. Nobody's making you play this game. So that's the fun of having a person like yourself on, and we want to have more high school kids, and me and Steve, and do the podcast and hear those points of views, and start kind of comparing a little bit that break between amateur baseball and the kids that want to go into professional baseball. Because right now we have perfect game mentality. The travel ball mentality is really, and it's nothing wrong with it, but they're kind of controlling the image of the game. It's pay to play. And the coaches are always trying to win these tournaments, and we've gotten away from what happened to the games where the kids can just go out there and make their own calls and live with the results, and not say we got to win everything.
Yeah, being able to just play the game without having to worry about who's winning and who's losing, and just following the process, right? Like you always say.
Exactly. The win is a result. We worry too much about kids go to the plate. And that's a great point. I got to get a hit. Well, I got to get a hit means you're worrying about the result, and we can't control the result. I got to win the ball game. We're trying to win the ball game, but that's a result. How about the process of playing the game? If you play 9 innings is hard to do, to play focus for 9 straight innings. The result will take care of itself. You agree? Mm-hmm. And you as a catcher, you say, I'm the catcher. I can control the result of this game. I take it up on myself to go out here and make a difference in this ball game. But you can't do it if you have no control over it.
At this point, Ryan's able to control it one pitch at a time.
Exactly. Yeah. Slow the game down a little bit.
Yeah, you're breaking it down, and whatever the score comes out to be at the end of 7 innings, obviously, Ryan, you don't know that yet in first inning.
Yeah.
Calling the first pitch, but he's following the process.
Yeah.
And like you said, winning is a result of doing things fundamentally sound, reacting to what you see.
Execution.
And sometimes at the end of 7 or 9 innings, you come out ahead.
That's right.
Sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you don't, no matter what you do.
Right. So,
exactly.
So, Leon, what else did you want to ask Ryan about today while we got him on, besides the impact that he has about?
Well, besides telling everybody how good a coach I am.
They already know that.
No, I learn all the time, and one of the things also is historically, baseball has been a national pastime. And now, we talk a lot about other, marketing from a marketing and marketing standpoint, basketball, football, soccer, other international sports are coming in. Lacrosse is getting big now, cricket's getting big, Olympics and international competitions. But baseball historically has always been, to me, the greatest game. around, and the game itself right now is in the hands of players like yourself. Okay, and that's a big mantra to say. I'm saying you because there's millions of high school baseball players right now that kind of represent. What would you like to see? Putting you on the spot, kind of not the way I feel, but how you feel. How high school baseball now, we always say it's really gone downhill overall. We say. It's not downhill. It's just the coaches are kind of controlled. The kids aren't playing pickup ball as much, doing things. But
it's changed.
Yeah, it has changed. And you're like, how would you like to see things happen?
I mean, overall, just giving the game back to the players, letting us get our job done how we like to do it. That helps a ton how it is. But instead of just worried about winning too much, exactly like we talked about, just work on going out, having fun, developing, and there's a lot of different ways to get stuff done. Each player has his own way to do it. So if we,
that's a great.
Yeah, just to give a game back to the players.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah.
What did I say again?
I want you to say that for the nation.
I think he said there's a lot of different ways to get things done. So
exactly.
Again, he's
a lot of different
bringing
roads.
up the point of letting them be individuals.
Yeah.
And I know you always say it's a team sport, but yet it's an individual sport.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I particularly think a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and every member of that team has to be an individual, and what each individual does helps the team win ball games. That's the result you're looking for, but each individual has to be as strong as possible. So I think a coach can't just say everybody do it my way or the highway, because everybody's different. Everybody does things different.
Right. So, and Ryan brought up another good point is the fact of the development level versus the level where you have to win.
Right.
Basically, he's still competing. You're still learning how to compete. But Ryan, maybe touch on again the importance that you see versus development versus just the mindset just to go out and win.
That's a pretty hot topic right now all over the place. But, I mean, there's a huge difference between putting guys out there and they're throwing a complete game when they shouldn't be at a certain time of the year, and they're focused on winning games rather than their players' well-being and health for one, and then how we play the game. And it just seems like they're controlling the game too much, trying to get wins when we could just go out there and probably win more games doing our own thing.
Right, and just maybe following the process and developing you as a player or developing the team.
Continue to coach and develop, and just when we get out to games, just hand it over. And if you practice the right way and you play the right way, then good things will happen no matter what.
Brian, this guy's a natural, Leon.
He's a natural. That's why I had him on.
Yeah.
That's why I had him on. That's why he's not playing the big leagues.
And I'm not talking down on coaches necessarily.
No.
They still have a huge part in our players' development.
I agree 100%.
No.
I'm a coach. Coaches have to be part of the game. Historically, the coaches are there. I like the idea of having programs where we don't even have signs. In the summer, we have programs where we don't even give signs. But I'm not saying that you don't give signs at the high school and the college level, even pro level. Everybody gives signs. But somewhere in there, my thing is give players a time where they can go play without signs. And the difference is back in the day, and I hate keeping bringing that up, but we played so much pickup ball, we got that playing the game because we knew when we went to the organized game we were going to get signs. But it helped us because we knew the situation. So we're looking at the coach saying, well, come on, coach, hurry up and get that bunt sign. We know it's a bunt situation. It's not like, oh, did I miss the bunt sign? I forgot what it was.
Yeah,
the situation, right?
One of my coaches always said the scoreboard dictates how you play the game. So if you know the situation, know what's happening, you'll know what to do in a certain situation.
Right.
That's true.
That is true.
It's very situationally based. Yeah. And again, we're not down on coaches. I used to coach too. We used to coach youth ball through high school.
Oh yeah.
But there's a time to coach and there's a time to let the kids play.
Let them play.
Yeah.
But my bunt sign, even when I managed over in Japan, my pitcher's at the plate. Not my pitcher. We had a DH in the situation, but I have a middle infielder situation, 1-1 ball game, down by a run, late in the game, 40,000 people in the stand, and everybody in the stand know there's a bunt coming up because that's what the situation calls for. I don't want to. Sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes 3-0, you give a green light. sometimes you go against the grain. You got to hit her up. That's a good matchup for you to let him hit. But if the situation calls for a bunt, I just says, get it down. I don't have to give a sign. I just want to make sure he gets the bunt down, because if you train yourself and you know how to bunt, you get a bunt down, they can't defend it anyway.
Right.
You get a guy over. So there's no real secrets in those situations. The key thing is teaching the players what those situations are. That's where coaches come in. Teachers, not necessarily coaches. I love the idea of having guys out there that know how to teach. And then instead of always thinking I'm a coach, where I'm a coach, I got to act like I'm a coach, which is not always good for the player.
Mm-hmm. And if you can teach the right way and you have confidence in your players, so you can teach them all you want, and then when you get to a game, you'll have the confidence in them to do what the right decision is, to make the right decisions and play the right way.
That's awesome.
That's exactly right. And I know, Ryan, I want to ask you one more question, because everybody knows Leon. Everybody listens to the podcast knows Leon. And everybody knows that his motto is be your own best coach. So can you tell everybody out there, or give an example about how Leon has helped you be your own best coach?
Mm-hmm. He just gives me the freedom to be who I need to be as a hitter, and he can go out to a game, and depending on how a certain pitcher's throwing, if he's throwing a little harder, then you can move your hands forward a little bit, just an inch or two, and that'll give you quicker hands and you get to the ball a little better. But if someone's throwing a little slower, you move them back, you get in a rhythm, and you can really get out in front of a ball and just do some damage. So it's just having that adjustability in game to do the right thing. It goes a long way.
That's good. That's great. Great. Just really appreciate having you on, Ryan, because today's hitting session, you're killing the ball. I've seen the progress. I know you got a really big upside. This is a great way to have this conversation, and you could voice those type of things. Sometimes we learn when we're talking to ourselves, and just can't thank you enough for coming on with us and doing this show.
It was fun. It went by fast.
Yeah, it always goes by fast when you're talking baseball with Leon. But once again, I'll just remind everybody of the podcast website, which is talkingbaseballwithleonlee.podbean.com. And we hope to talk to you all again soon.